It's Kathy from Bishopstone Yarns, and I'd like to welcome you here to episode 44, I think it is. Let me just check. Yes, it is 44 of the Bishopstone Yarns podcast, and it is May. Where are we? It's towards the end of May now, and this is a mainly crafting podcast, and I am coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island to the south of Australia. And you will find me at the moment in the corner of my studio. Now, today I am going to have a little chat about spinning. And so if you're a returning viewer, welcome. It's great to see you again. Thank you very much for coming and spending a little bit of time with me while I chat about what I've been up to, which at the moment is not a lot. But if you're a new viewer, welcome. It's really great to see you. It's great to have you along to join me for this little bit of crafting chat. And if you like the episode, give it the thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, then subscribe. And then you'll know when I put up a new episode. And as I was saying, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my spinning. And I actually haven't been doing a lot of spinning lately. So this might be a slightly quicker episode because I don't really have as much to talk about. I guess one of the first things I could say is that I'll get straight to some of the spinning that I have done. So, sorry about the crinkling, but here, I'll get it out of the bag. I have spun up. I had talked about, I think in a previous spinning podcast, I was talking about some tops that I had got from a D stash, which down here where I live is quite rare to find tops and rovings in a D stash or for sale. So here was one. If I can, let me just undo it for you. I can show you. So here is my lovely brown. Well, it's kind of a brown, but almost not quite an olive, but it does have a slightly green. If I can just turn it around so you can have a look. So this is what I have at the moment. You can see in here the last few strands, when I was plying this back on itself, I ended up with a little bit left over on one bobbin of this colour. So I did have some leftover lighter yarn from another bobbin, so I thought I would just spin that up just to fill up the last bit. I'll take those last few strands off and I can just use them as a highlight for something. But, so there's one skein from my lovely D stash that I had got. And it's an interesting colour. I mean, those people who've been watching for a while, you'll know that brown is not really my colour. It is a very interesting kind of a colour. It's a bit hard to show you, especially with the lighting in here at the moment. The lighting is not very good at the moment. It's very overcast outside at the moment. It hasn't been, the weather here has been, we've had a lot of wind, a bit of rain. It's not particularly cold, but it's just not very sunny at the moment, so it's a little bit hard to have good lighting in here. And the second skein that I did was this brown, which I'll kind of hold up a bit closer for you to have a look at. So that is the brown. So if I hold them up together in the light, there you go, you can kind of see there is quite a big difference in the colour. There's the top one is kind of more of a kind of an olivey brown colour, and the bottom one is much more a brown. So they're the two skeins that I've finished. So here we have the two skeins that were from the D stash. When I was at the D stash as well, I also got, sorry for crinkling again, I did get this, there was also this bump of brown. There's a bit of grey on there, more white. So this, oh, it's not showing it up. It is a little bit browner than it's showing up at the moment. So this bit here, so there's a fair bit here. I thought I would separate this into two and hopefully do some long draw with this. My previous spinning, for those who've been watching for a while, you'll know that I had spun up, cut it up and spun up some pink of mine, which I was hoping to do long draw, but I found that when it came round to the spinning, it was the fleece, and because it was a fleece, it was still quite sticky, even though I had prepared it, I had dyed it myself, and I had carded it. It still had a lot of that kind of, I was going to say lanolin tacky kind of, it was just a little bit stickier, stuck to itself a little bit more than I would have liked to have been able to do a long draw with it. But because this is a processed tops, I will be able to do a long draw with this. So hopefully I will get some footage of me spinning this long draw. I don't know if I'll get this done, probably not for this video, but maybe for the next one. I'll start doing this. There's little bits of grey in here. Sorry, just getting rid of the little bits of grey. So I have quite a bit here, and so that's going to be my processing for next time. I think just before I do that though, sorry, just popping it away, is I might not use my rose. No, actually I'll do the long draw on my rose, but I would like to try and ply on my e-spinner. So here are the bobbins for my e-spinner. I still have 2 bobbins with this beautiful wool and silk mix on them. They've been sitting there for such a long time, simply because I haven't really made a huge decision about what to ply these with. I do have, excuse me, I do have this lovely fuchsia. So this is merino, 100 grams of merino in fuchsia, which I had been thinking about putting together with it. But I'm just not sure. I just don't know. I really, really like this. Whether or not I just ply it back on itself and have it spun together with itself, I don't know. I just can't make up my mind as what to do. But once I have emptied these, then once I have then spun up the brown, I was thinking I would probably hopefully apply it on the e-spinner. I just need to make a decision. Maybe I should just apply them together. That might be the easiest way to do it, and to spend a bit of time than spending all this time thinking about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to apply them with. Sometimes I find that the actual spinning doesn't take that long. I spend a lot of time thinking about what colors I'm going to put together, what I'm going to apply it with, how I'm going to apply it. And I think sometimes that, like with this project, things can sit around for a long time because I just don't seem to make a decision about what I'm going to do with them. I know I guess it's a form of just procrastination, isn't it? So I should learn not to procrastinate quite so much. I should just go ahead and do it, because I don't have an end project in mind. So I guess I'm not really stopping to think about what would be the best color or the best combination for an actual project. I'm just trying to get through some of my stash at the moment, which is why I thought I'd better get through the de-stash stuff that I bought, because they're really, it's not really a great idea to just buy de-stash if I'm not then going to use it, because then it just becomes part of my stash. Yes, and I don't need to add more to my stash, because then I can't find anywhere to store it. But yeah. Well, that's all I have been doing in terms of the actual spinning. I just want to talk to you a little bit about a book I have been reading. I've just finished reading, and I was out in a bookshop and I saw this, and I thought, well, actually, I saw it the first time I saw it. I thought, oh, that looks really interesting. Maybe I should buy it. And then I walked away and I didn't buy it. And next time I went back to that bookshop, it wasn't there. Then I saw it again in another bookshop, and then I decided, right, that's it, I'm going to get it. So this is The Golden Fleece by Esther Rutter. It's a journey through Britain's knitted history. So she had me, first of all, on the title, on the cover, because the cover, as you can see here, is made up of, the landscape is made up of knitting. So that attracted me, first of all. The colours, the knitting, the title, and then, of course, a journey through Britain's knitting history. So here are lots of the things that I love together. Knitting, fleece, and history. What could be better? Okay, so this book, for those in Australia, so this book was $22.99, which I thought was quite a good price for a book. And so Esther Rutter writes this book about her journey. So it's a personal journey through a year of knitting, but during that year she also, through each item that she knits, she looks at the history behind the knitted item and the history throughout Britain that has created these items. So I find this really interesting because I live in Australia, and a lot of our knitting traditions traditionally come from the UK, and a lot of my family's knitting traditions come from the UK, because both my mother's and father's side of the family came from the UK. And so I found this quite interesting, and I found it quite interesting because it's kind of modern day knitting, but knitting historical patterns and looking at where those patterns came from, how they were used. It's quite interesting as well looking at the role of women in knitting. She does talk a little bit about men in knitting as well in history, but it's mainly about women and women's role in knitting and things like that. So I think it's, for me, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the book. Yeah, it was a really easy read, really interesting. If you're interested in all those things, I would say to read it, because yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'm actually, so much so that I'm actually thinking I'd like to actually find a few more books like this. I mean, I'd love to read some Australian based books as well. I know there are some books that look at the history of sheep in Australia, and like the first lot of merinos that were created in Australia and things like that. So I might end up having to go and kind of read some of those, and yeah, I'll tell you about them when I get around to reading them. But at the moment I do have a lot of other books that I am trying to get through. And actually one of the books I'm reading at the moment is a book that my dad lent me, which is about Errol Flynn. So for those of you who don't know, Errol Flynn used to live in Tasmania, and he lived in Hobart, which is the capital of Tasmania. And so, yeah, I'm just reading this book about his life. So, yes, one of many books that I have on my list to read. But, yes, I will definitely, I would definitely recommend this to anyone who is interested in knitting, history, and I guess women in history as well. I think it's a really great read. So yeah, thank you, Esther, for putting this book together. It was really good. And I think that is about it, really. I don't have much else to really talk about at the moment because I haven't really done much else in the way of spinning. I actually haven't even had a chance to watch too many spinning YouTube videos. I have been seeing lots and lots of photos up on Facebook. Oh, that's what I forgot to say as well, wasn't it? That if you want to find me around the internet, you can find me on Facebook as Bishopstone Yarns. You can find me on Instagram as Bishopstone Yarns. You can find me on Ravelry as Bishopstone. You can find me, I do have a blog called Bishopstone Yarns, but I don't use it very often, but you're quite welcome to pop over there. And I'm always really happy for people to leave comments and let me know what they're thinking, what they're making, what's happening, all those kind of things. But getting back to on Facebook, I have been keeping up with the posts that people are getting excited about this year's Tour de Fleece. So Tour de Fleece is starting in just over a month's time. So I think is it the 1st of July? I think it starts, and it runs or coincides. It's run by Ravelry, and it coincides with the Tour de France, which is a cycling race through France. Well, it doesn't just go through France; it goes through a few other countries as well. But on each day of the race, people set them a challenge to maybe spin every day. And I actually haven't even decided what I'm going to spin yet this year. Last year, I spun all that brown and white wool. And, of course, this is what this jumper was made from, this Birkin. I spun enough to make this last year, and the white Birkin as well, that those who've been watching for a while have seen and I have talked about all the time, so I don't need to go back into talking about this. So this was part of the end result of last year's Tour de Fleece. I want to do something a bit more colourful this year, so maybe I might, excuse me again, I might have to go through some of my stash here. I've got kind of lots of bags of coloured yarn, so maybe that's what I might do. I might just have a go at spinning up a whole heap of my nice colourful yarn. No more brown this year. I have done a couple of years of the Tour de Fleece when I have spun only brown, and I can't do it this year. No, I had actually originally at the end of last year thought, this is a great way to get through a fleece, is to put it down and do it during Tour de Fleece, but it's not exhausting, but it is tiring, because especially when you're spinning something that you're kind of not necessarily all that crazy about, and it's because you're doing the same colour, a whole big spin of the same colour. Sometimes it's not as enjoyable as doing something a little bit brighter and more colourful. So I'm sure I will talk about that next time I do a spinning podcast, which should be in 2 weeks if I get myself back on track. I usually try and podcast every 2 weeks. I'm a little bit out of alignment at the moment because a little while ago I'd been sick, and then the whole family kind of got sick one after another, and then my husband got sick a second time, and then we've had a couple of other things one major thing going on in the background at the moment, so that's kind of been taking up a lot of my time, so that's why I haven't really done a lot of spinning, but I really want to get back into it. And I guess I can stop there. That's about all I have to say. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. And thank you to all those people who hit the like button, and all those people who have subscribed. I really appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you later. Bye.